Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get More Clients. I'm your host, Lynn Whitbeck. Business owners and entrepreneurs hire me to ignite winning sales because most are chasing down clients stuck in a chaotic sales cycle and lacking client retention, conversions, and profits. The mission of this show is to educate, inspire, and motivate women around the world to build a robust sales strategy to get more clients. Because most can't get more clients and haven't a clue why. You will learn to transform thinking to the client's perspective, end sales chaos with a robust strategic plan, and to harvest the hidden profits. You will also have the opportunity to connect with me further to see how I can support you beyond today. I want to tell you about one of my absolute favorite books. And this is a sales book. It's called Getting Naked. I know what you're thinking. What the what? But this book by Patrick Lencioni, his subtitle is A Business Fable About Shedding the 3 Fears That Sabotage Client Loyalty. This book is incredible. You can get it on Amazon. It's on Audible. You can get it on wherever your local bookseller is. It is a super quick and easy read. You are going to love this book because it is about relationships. It's about building those incredibly wonderful relationships. And I'm going to just tap this real quick. That matter in our business, that matter in our sales, that matter in our lives. And it's the basis in so many ways of what I relate to and what I teach on client thinking, worthy intent, and today's show, relational capital. So I hope you'll give that a read. The last time I recommended it, which was just a few weeks ago, she downloaded the book as on her drive and she ended up staying up that night to finish it. She loved it so much. So please take a listen. And that's Getting Naked by Patrick Lencioni. And I don't know him at all, so it's just a great book. Last week, we explored how your prospects progress from spark to connect to rapport. And today, we will reveal what is your relational capital and why does it matter. By the end of today's show, you will know how to set the tone for your initial connection, why worthy intent and client thinking serve relational capital, how, why, and where relational capital provides a market advantage. This translates to authenticity, integrity, and credibility, the core building blocks for great professional relationships, personal ones too. This relational capital moves you forward. All right, let's sort of go back. We've been talking so much about client thinking and worthy intent. Let's weave this all together now. Let's talk about your initial connection with a new prospect. The golden rule is to be nice to everyone. Hopefully you were taught that when you were growing up, because the first impression that you make sets the tone. Your energy and intention are conveyed. Your nonverbal communication is critical. You want to make eye contact, whether you're in person or virtual. You want to smile. You want to nod. And be sure about your posture. You want to stand up straight, roll your shoulders back. That's really putting you in that peer-to-peer, equal to equal position. And of course, as they're talking, you're going to want to be leaning in, nodding your head, smiling again, making that eye contact, making sure that they can tell that you hear what they have to say. And I can't underestimate how important that is. I know that we discussed worthy intent before, but let's revisit this. Maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe it is a rehash, but worthy intent is demonstrating sincere interest, discovery, and active listening. It's about them. they're another human being, a person. And that's why this is so vital, because it's not about you. Okay. Get out of your own way. Just stop. It's about the other person. In sales, it's about them, about what they want, need, or lack, why it matters to them, so they can. All right. And this is how, when you approach individuals with worthy intent, that you are able to find those common interests. You're able to learn about their passions, and you're able to build a deeper connection and a bridge to the next stage of your relationship. So if you're in that networking piece and you're meeting and connecting with someone, so go off script a little bit. So I have used this for years, and it's my favorite question to ask when you first initially meet someone. It's like, if you could be anywhere else right now, where would you be? Who would you be with? And what would you be doing? Now, this is a great question to break the ice, because it really sets the tone of your interest in them as another human being. And it reveals a lot. There is no yes or no to that. You actually can get a whole bunch of information about what matters to them, or especially on their downtime, right? Or where would they be? What would they do? And maybe they do talk about work. Maybe they talk about hiking in Yosemite. Maybe they talk about playing softball with their family. Who knows? But whatever that is, you're going to get some great information. And from there, you're going to be able to ask, tell me more, and then learn more about them, right? And really create that bond, that connection, that human to human connection, because our worthy intent sets us apart as sales professionals, as individuals. And that integrity, that is the cornerstone of worthy intent. So I want you to think about this, because choosing to work with someone who has established their integrity is easy. Okay. All right. So we've talked a lot about worthy intent and client thinking, and we've also established why the client perspective rules. So here we are. This is so critical. And by beginning with worthy intent, you make that genuine connection to the client's realm. And you focus on how you can serve them, showing your respect and communicating your sincere interest. It's not about what you can get out of them. All right. I want to make sure that that's super clear, because I've already mentioned this. Authenticity, integrity, and credibility are established when you approach that relationship with worthy intent. And these are the core building blocks of great professional relationships. And this moves us into relational capital. So I want to touch base about what the heck relational capital is, because you're probably wondering, well, relational capital is just like putting a deposit into your bank account, except that this is the relationship, the human to human relationship. And when you are genuinely curious, you have worthy intent, you're truly interested in them, you listen, you flex your style to meet them where they're at, you're making deposits into your mutual relationship capital account. And each of those deposits, they build upon one another. They're building that like, know, and trust factor. They're building that opportunity to be able to further your discussion and develop the relationship, to cultivate it, and then to guide them to a decision. So that's the best analogy I have about what relational capital is. You're making deposits that will serve you, and they serve them. And those deposits become incredibly valuable over time, because they help you move the conversation forward. And when something goes sideways, and something always goes sideways. Always, always, always. The deposits that you've made and that relational capital, they're going to serve you in those moments. In those moments of stress, those moments of anxiety, those moments when the client really feels that they've lost their trust. That relational capital, that's where it kicks in so that you can work through that situation. You can be the problem solver. You can do what you say you're going to do. You can bring them solutions. They're going to genuinely apologize, and you're going to be able to move them through that incredibly tense situation. And maybe sometimes it's not so tense, but it's still a situation, so that you can continue on your path to building an incredibly strong, living relationship that you will nurture and will grow. That relational capital really helps and protects you from the opposite direction, which is when a bitter seed is planted and something goes sideways, and it always does. You don't want to go down that path. It's a dark, dank, icky tunnel. Yeah, nobody wants to go down there. And at the end, it's about client churn and retention and parting ways with your client. So this is why relational capital is so critical, because it's going to help you bridge that situation to make sure that you go on the upward path and continue with the rapport, and you continue to nurture that relationship. Relational capital is literally like a vault. It's a vault that you're putting deposits in all the time. It's both internal and it's external, and how you work with your client. And you keep building and adding deposits with your client. And this is where your relationship is growing, and that relational capital is growing. So relational capital is absolutely vital. And as you begin to cultivate your relationship and you're using that relational capital, this is also the opportunity now, when you're building relational capital, to flex and adapt your style to the personality of your client. Everyone has their own style of how they approach things, but there are some core personality types. And almost all of the different personality coding things out there, there's a lot of different ones, but they really come down to 4 core codes about how you approach things. So if you're working with someone, as an example, and they say, oh, you know what, I don't want to get into the details. Let's, that's just going to weigh us down. All right. So that's going to let you know about something about that person, and then how you need to respond. And then using your worthy intent and the client thinking of really understanding their perspective, you're going to know that to communicate effectively with them, you're going to want to pivot and don't get into the details. All right. Because you can be, we can be flexible. We can do the heavy lifting on this and take care of that for you. So now you're speaking back to them in a way that they appreciate, because they don't want to get into the details. It's literally, they want this done for them. So that's a really critical piece as you're working through the relational capital and you're building on it, and you're looking at the client thinking. You're really diving in to how they're presenting themselves, the words that they're using, what lights them up and gets them excited, because other people are the opposite. They're going to want to get into the weeds. They just like, wow, okay, well, how would we then do this? And what's the next step? And what's the next step? So you know that they're planners, right? They want to lay everything out. And everyone has the different personalities are all wrapped into them. We all have all these different elements, but there is a dominant personality type that's within ourselves. And sometimes there can be more than one dominant, and they sort of work with each other and they balance one another, but they're there all the time. And so when someone instead is like really excited about looking at the plan, of getting into the weeds, getting into the details. That's where, okay, we've got a process map that goes through every step of our system and how the methodology we use to get you from point A to point B. So from where you are now to where you want to be. So when you respond that way, now you've connected to them on that level of their code and why it matters to them. So this is such an important topic about leaning in, building this relational capital, and working with someone on where they're at. You need to constantly be working on how you can better adapt and flex your style. First of all, we work with so many different types of people. This is an incredibly vital skill because the decision maker could be one personality code. Maybe they're I don't want to get into the details. I just want high level. And then it's like, okay, yes, we can be flexible. We can get this immediately into your hands, right? Those are things that then they make those decisions, but then they're not the ones who's implementing and executing on your product or service, regardless of what it is. And unless, of course, you're doing one-on-one coaching, then you need to make sure that there's a good personality fit and how you're going to work with them, because that could impact the success that you have with them. If you can't work with them, if you guys are polar opposites, if you like to have everything process mapped out and every detail and really look at the plan, how you're going to get from point A to point B and every step, and they're not interested in that and they just want to get there, you're going to struggle. All right. And that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for you. So learning how to do this is really important. But in most cases, you're going to then work with someone else to potentially execute your product or service. And that person could be a completely different personality type. So being able to read and look and mate up with people and how they do that is so important. And I'm not an expert on personality coding. I just want you to know that. But I have taken the time to learn and go through training so that I can improve my ability to connect with people. Sorry, I choke here. And it helps in those moments that I talked about of stress when something goes sideways, because this is one of the things that's really interesting. We all have these different elements of our personality. So you may have noticed from some of the words that I use and some of the things that I go into that I can be very nurturing, right? And that's a really important part of my personality. So I want to bring people in. I want to help them. I want to support them. I'm very nurturing. It's about the community that I'm building. But at the same time, I like to really know what I'm talking about. I want to have the facts and figures. I pursue education. It's important to me. I want to continue with my journey for my skills and my growth of my mindset. So I love that. And when I get stressed and things go sideways, I will go into this mode where I am like, I want to figure everything out. Okay, how are we going to get there? What are the steps? What are the missing pieces? What do we have to make sure we do? What's the timeline? I literally go into this stressor mode where I want to plan out every detail. And I want to make sure all of our ducks are in a row. So and then everyone has a skill that they tend to be the weakest on. And over time, I've learned how to cultivate that part of myself because I had to learn how to be more spontaneous, more flexible, because things go wrong or something comes up, a new opportunity. And rather than saying no, I need to look at, well, does this make sense? Is this a really great opportunity? Should I go ahead and pursue this? And that would mean making changes to what I've already planned, right? And so you have to learn how to lean into all of these different aspects of not only yourself, but then your clients, and how you can recognize that when they're stressed and they go into that mode, then how you can communicate more effectively with them to guide them in the conversation, because it's about creating that emotional human to human repair so that they can move forward, and you as well, together. It's about working together and having that ability to do that. So you may be wondering if there's a resource that you can go to learn about personality coding, and there's some terrific ones, and I'll go ahead and add those to the show notes. A program that I strongly recommend. It's a great place to start, and I'll include that for you in the show notes. But let's continue on. And we've been talking about building our relational capital. So let's think about how this applies in real life. So let's look at that situation that I talked about last week, where the sales rep drives up to the building, sort of squeals into the parking lot, slams the door right in front of the front door of the reception. And the receptionist is sort of watching this activity and watching this person sort of huff their way into the building, huff and puff. And then the rat-a-tat-tat on the desk for the receptionist desk, as the receptionist is contacting the person that they're there to see. So right there, they've sort of poisoned their own well with how they're presenting themselves and the impression they're creating, because everyone matters. Everyone in part of an organization makes a difference and is part of the life of that organization and the culture and environment of that organization. So right off the get-go, that person was basically pulling money out, like burning it in the parking lot from their relational capital vault, because they've created a very negative impression, on the gatekeeper, a vital gatekeeper. Gatekeepers are receptionists. They are the team members that are the coordinators. They are the assistants, right? They're the people who are going to get you into meeting that very important person who's going to be the decision maker. They're also the people who tend to be executing and implementing your product or service. They could also be the partner and the spouse, or another family member that's part of the decision-making process. And that impression that you're creating for them, that's either going to add a deposit into your relational capital, or you're just going to take a whole huge hunk of that relational capital out and you're just going to light it on fire. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be lighting it on fire. Fire's dangerous. I'd much rather be putting the money into the vault and creating that positive impression, greeting and treating everyone with dignity, compassion, and respect and kindness, because that creates those deposits in the relational capital. It makes you feel good. It's the right thing to do, right? But for those of you who really need this explained, it's not about being calculating, but it's about showing up in your best self, about being the best human being you can be. And that moves those conversations forward, because those gatekeepers, they let you in to meet with the other person. They make it easy. They will have and add comments during the decision-making process. They have influence. So you're adding those deposits to your relational capital, and all of that is going to tap in to what you're doing, and it's going to pay off. So from everyone you meet, you come with that worthy intent. If the receptionist isn't busy, strike up a conversation. Use my little gambit. You were anywhere else, where would you be? Who would you be with? And what would you be doing? All right. And then that's going to start a connection with another human being, and you're going to learn something about that receptionist. And then next time you go out and say, hey, were you able to get out hiking recently? And how's your dog? Right? Maybe they told you that they go hiking in Yosemite and they take their dog. I don't know. So whatever that information is, now you can add that into your virtual cloud-based Rolodex, your CRM, however you store that information. And now you can pick up that conversation. Now, first of all, that's going to impress the receptionist, the gatekeeper. Like, wow, they remembered that I like to do this activity. And it's like, whoa, okay, I like this person. They're learning to get to know you and to trust you. And that is going to help you as you build your relational capital with that organizational, because it's not just individuals, it's within an organization. And how you're building your relationship all the way through, because there's silos, there's verticals, and there's the influencers, there's the people who are going to have an impact that will help you as you move forward with that client. So we've covered a whole bunch today, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. My purpose is for you to get more clients. And on behalf of the WinWin Women Network, I've carved out a limited number of time slots to invite you to hop on and ignite your sales call with me to see what is working, not working, and what you would love to have working. And I'm going to see how I might further support you in effectively generating more leads, converting more sales, and fulfilling on your promise as a brand and organization. Because the fastest way to success is to assure people know that they matter. That's what this whole show has been about. And the best way to make this happen is to build a consistent sales strategy to acquire, convert, and capitalize on every lead. And you will find growing your business is easy and lucrative. Today, we looked at what is your relational capital and why does it matter? Well, I think you know now, it really matters. It really does. And the key is for you to implement these steps to stop wasting time, energy, and resources. And you have the opportunity to jump in and get the support you need for true success. Say yes to you and get on a call with me. I'm truly gifted at this, and I know that you deserve a shortcut to your success with the right support. So you can go to p2q.link/win-win. And that link is down below in the show notes. You can also connect with me on our website. And to stay current on all of our insightful advice, our breakthrough advantages, and never miss an episode, you can sign up for our weekly wisdoms newsletter at petite2queen.com. And next week on Get More Clients, we're going to be discussing how to reach consensus and cultivate your client impact. We're also going to dive in to seeding and planting referrals early in the conversation and how important that is later on down the path, so that you have a referral process that thrives and gives you that opportunity to shorten your sales cycle with rapid like, know, and trust from a referral that's been given to you. So we're going to go into how that process gets started when you're building your relationship, and as you're building out the cultivation and consensus, so that you can really then guide them to a decision, and you can help create impact for that client in their life, in their business, their career, in their community. So I am so excited to have that conversation with you next week, and I will see you right here at the same channel, same time on Get More Clients.